I want to ask you something before we ever even get started today. Have you ever looked at someone, maybe in a jail cell, maybe in the bottom of a bottle, maybe on the wrong end of a relationship that turned violent, and thought, that person is done. There is nothing left to save? Maybe you thought about someone you love. Maybe you thought about it yourself. Today's guest was that person. He lived through addiction. He was in the streets. He was on the wrong side of domestic violence. He sat in a jail cell and heard that door close behind him. And at some point, when most people would have stayed down, he decided to get up. Not just get up, but he decided to rebuild, and rebuild from scratch, from nothing, from the inside out. His name is Eddie. Eddie New Style, I call him. He's a barber, an artist, an entrepreneur, a community builder, a man who named himself after the version of himself he chose to become. This is not a highlight reel. This is not a redemption story wrapped in a bow. This is the real thing. And if you or someone you love is still in it right now today, still in the dark, this episode is for you. Stay with us. Now, I want to say welcome to Aging Whealthily. I'm your host, Sean Smith. We say it every week, and we mean it every week. We're not anti-aging, we're pro-living. And today's conversation is one of the most important ones we have ever had on the show. Sitting across from me right now is a man I'm proud to call a friend. He's built something real right here in Connecticut. New Style Hair Studio, New Style Collectibles, a brand, a community, a legacy. Eddie New Style, welcome to Aging Wealth.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, before we go anywhere at all, just tell the people who you are today, right now. Who is Eddie?
Eddie Rivera is an entrepreneur, a creative, a father, a husband, a friend, a brother, and someone that's not going to give up on his dreams, and he's going to continue to keep going.
And don't forget inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Inspiration for sure.
Yes. Now, the name New Style, is that a brand name or is that something you had to earn?
New Style came when I wanted to open up a barbershop, and I wanted to kind of like give it an identity. And to me, everything was new, and I wanted, new life, new day, new style. Sometimes we get stuck with the old ways, and we don't try to recreate or rebrand ourselves. So, to me, it was like, let's do something new, and New Style was like the thing that kind of stuck with me.
So this was all part of the whole rebranding, the repositioning of who Eddie is.
Reinventing myself.
Reinventing yourself.
It was just all new. And, I remember listening to that song by Rihanna called It's a New Day. Mm-hmm. And it was like, kept playing in my head. It's like, it's a new day. The past doesn't matter. And it's a new style. It's just a new way of living. And everything, new friends, people always talk about no new friends. I think new friends are great and very important. Mm-hmm. And new lifestyle, new house, new car, new things are always great. So that's where I think that's, New Style is kind of like a fresh beginning.
Now, when your answer makes me think about something, because they talk about change. Mm-hmm. And you talk about reinvention, and they say that when you embark on that journey, you have to change. You have to have new things, right? New places, new people, new friends, new associates, new actions, new activities, everything. What you're talking about now, just starting over, just building something new. And that sounds like that was a very critical part in your journey.
Yes, because we keep trying the same thing over and over, thinking it's going to change. And, if you want a new life, you need to create new habits. And you can't go into the new life with the old habits. You kind of got to let those go and create new ones. So, yeah, that's pretty much the idea.
So, what are some of the new habits that you formed when you were in the process of this reinvention?
So, I originally came across a motivational speaker called Eric Thomas. And I've come across these motivational speakers here and there before, but in 2015, I was pretty much rock bottom. I lost everything. I was by myself, sleeping in my car, and I started working at a barber shop, and a barber had showed me a video of Eric Thomas talking about when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. And he had this speech that really sparked something in me. And I started digging deep, and I started seeing he had a system, he had a routine. And, he told a story about a guru that told the guy that wants to change and be successful to wake up and meet him at the beach at 4 a.m. So the guy meets him at the beach at 4 a.m. with a suit on. And he's like, "What are we doing at the beach? I want to be successful. We're not going to be successful at the beach." He said, "Come, I'm out in the water." He's like, "Come to the water, come down here." He's like, "Well, I got my suit on. I don't want to get in the water." So he walks in the water, and the guy grabs his head and puts it under the water. And then, he brings him back up. He's like, "Hey, so, when you're underwater, what did you want to do?" He said, "I wanted to breathe." And he said, "When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful."
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it struck me hard. It was like one of those things where you're like, I want it bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So then you start studying the successful people, and thank God for YouTube and being able to have access to all this information. I started looking for motivational speakers. I started listening to successful people's stories, and I saw that they all had one thing in common, which was a system. They woke up in the morning, they worked out, they read books, they just had a system that was pretty much developing them into a very successful person. So I'm like, I'm gonna adapt those things. I'm gonna wake up. I was one of those kids that slept till 8 or 9 and deal with depression. And so I started waking up at 7 a.m. Then I took it to 6 a.m. and 5 a.m. and now I'm at 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Yes. And I go to the gym 4 a.m. and then in the gym, I realized that I learn differently, and I don't like to read books, so I started listening to audiobooks. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I kind of figured out a system that works for me, yeah. and it just, I don't know, the universe, something out there, when it sees you, God, whatever you believe in, when it sees you working towards something and really working hard, it's like what you're looking for is looking for you, and it's eventually you meet. And I think that's what happened with me. I had all these ideas. I wanted to open up a barbershop. I wanted to be an artist, world renowned. I love doing music. I love all these different things. And I just started doing it all. You know what I mean? Yeah. And working on my art and getting better with my art and working on the barber part, becoming better. I remember I worked, every day for 5 years while I was building my clientele up in the barber industry. And then years later, here I am with 2 barbershops. And same thing with doing art. I remember spending $600 on spray cans when I was 30, because it was just one of those things where I'm like, there's things in my life that I want to do before I die. I want to get great at this spray paint graffiti stuff that I always liked when I was a kid. So, same thing with that. I started in my garage, and now I got murals all around Connecticut. And it was through just that system that you build. Wake up, go to the gym, listen to some positive things, be positive. I have a lot of things I deal with every day that could easily break anyone. Literally, I could wake up in a day and I could choose the things that could break me today. Or I could wake up and be like, forget those things that could break me. I'm going to smile, and then I'm going to also give it to the world. I'm going to go to my barbershop and make the barbers feel good about themselves, and, just exciting. Even though some people probably look at me sometimes and be like, what the hell is wrong with this dude? Is he on drugs? Because he's always in a good mood. And it's just a choice. I choose to be in a good mood because I know that if I'm in a good mood and you're not, I know I could rub a little bit of my good mood to you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And just be that positive force.
Absolutely. That is amazing. You give me goosebumps when you talk about that. And I remember, and when I was in my developmental stages, and I'm still am. I'm always developing, but just when I was just initially launching, and what some of my mentors told me, and people that I looked to and respected, in the directions that they pointed me in, and I remember being taught, like how you were talking about, that you have to want to succeed as much as you want to breathe, as much as you need to draw a breath, and talking about just change and when will people change and what is that point. And one of my mentors, one of my teachers told me, he said that you have to become 100% dissatisfied with your condition, whatever it is that you're dealing with. And when you become 100% dissatisfied, then you will make that change. You'll at least embark on that journey.
Yes.
And
Because what do you got to lose?
you have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. And you're looking for, we start looking for guidance. But I know that, and I'm a religious person, right? I believe in God. I'm Muslim. Might not be the best of them, but I am. This is my belief. There's no question.
Very respectful.
And there's a one of the traditions that says that if you take one step toward Allah, that he'll take 10 steps toward you. If you come to him in a hand span, he'll come to you in arm's length. If you go to him walking, then he'll come to you running.
100%.
So you talked about how when you started on there and you began in that, everything comes to you. When you go on that journey sincerely, right? It's in your heart. Like this is what, and you start making the steps. It sends out I don't know, how it works, but even if you want to take and look at it from maybe not from the religious, but just a pure metaphysical point of view,
Vibration.
that goes out.
It's a signal you put out there.
That's right. And it starts something. There's emotion. There's, like they talk about, every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. There's something that happens. And you're going to connect with everything that you need to accomplish that objective, as long as you're able to draw a breath.
Very true. And the thing is, a lot of us want to start businesses and change our lives. And I wanted to start a business. I didn't know where the money was going to come from. And another speech I saw of a mentor, motivational speaker, said, it's not your business on knowing where the money's going to come from. You focus on you. God, and I always say the universe, God, because everybody has different beliefs. Right. I believe in God, but my God might not be the same God. Who knows? It's all the same God. It's just we look at it differently, right? But keep working. God, the universe will bring it to you. Will help you. Right. It's just, and it's funny because I could say it's so true, because I used to be that person that used to be like, how's this going to happen? How is it going to happen? I can't save no money because I have all these kids I got to take care of. I have all these bills. I can't get to the point where no one wants to give me a loan. The bank ain't giving you no loans because you have no backing. You own nothing. So you can't put up the house for collateral at the time. I had nothing, zero. You know what I mean? So I could attest to that. I could say I put in the work, and eventually someone saw something in me that made them say, "Hey, I'll let you borrow some money because I believe in your work ethic. I see you every Saturday here at 5 in the morning in the barbershop. I drive by, I'm at the light, and I see you there. And it's been 2 years. And every time I'm at that light on a Saturday, you're at the barbershop, never missing a day. I believe in your work ethic. What can we do to do some business together?" And there is so many people out there that want to give you their money to do things, but you got to become that person that could hold that responsibility. You know, if you asked me when I was 22, 23, if I could do what I'm doing right now, I wasn't the person. You got to become the person. And I wasn't the person. And everyone wants that. You know, I always ask, like, I see all these people that got a lot of money in their young age. And I talk to God. I'm like, God, why didn't I get it in my young age? And God, I hear him whisper, like, if I gave you all that, you probably would be dead by now. You'd probably be overdosed somewhere, partying. You didn't have the discipline. Mm-hmm. And I've seen it. I've seen people at a young age get a lot of money, and they're nowhere now. They're either dead because they partied too much and overdosed and died, or they're broke and have nothing, and they wasted all that time instead of focusing on self-development. And this is why I always tell people, you see all these millionaires with depression issues, drug addictions, alcoholism. The money didn't help them. It's who the hell you become. It's who you become. What are you going to become? You're like, I'm happier. I think I'm a very successful man. I don't need $1 million, a couple $1 million in the bank. Do I want them? Sure. I want to be able to, you know, pay my sister, buy a house for my sister, and buy this for my kids, and do. I would like. That's what I want money for. I'm at this point in my life. If there's anything I want materialistic, it's probably a Ferrari. Just to make my younger self happy. My 9-year-old self, when I grow up, I'm gonna have one of those. Yes. But if you really ask me, I don't care about that either. Right. I just want to be living life, traveling, adventure. I would give it all up just to live a life of adventure. You know, all the material things in the world. I would give it up to go to Thailand, Italy, Africa, go to the communities where there's babies that need help, and help, you know, philanthropy. I would love to get into that. Those are the things that matters to me. Becoming something great and give it to the world.
Yes. Mine is 86 Grand National fully restored. I want it like all original.
What?
86 Grand National.
Right. And we have, if you don't have it, it's not a big thing. It's not a big deal. But you know, there's certain things that we want because it does something.
Right. And not just want it, but probably could have had it by now. It's a couple times over. Right. But just, you know, it's just something, like you said, the younger you, the younger self to want, you know, but it's not, and it's not important. What's important is the things you talked about, the things like with that you want to have, that I want to be able to provide financial security for my family, extended family. I want to be able to provide eternal wealth. And I don't use the term generational because after the second generation, that money's gone. Yeah. But eternal wealth, to where my lineage, my legacy would never have to worry about finances being their struggle. Everybody's going to struggle, but I don't want you to have to worry about finances being your struggle. I want you to your struggles to be something different.
And right. And you know, they say a lot of these rich people that come from this cloth of developing something incredible, they say, I'm giving all my money away. My kids are mad at me, but I'm donating all my money. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, that's more valuable to them than receiving the money. Because once you teach someone something, once you teach them the rules of life, you're unstoppable. Exactly. It is like, that's why you learn. They can't take what you learn. They could take your money, they could take your car, they could take your wife, they could take it all. They can't take what you learn. And once you have that, I'm unstoppable. You're unstoppable. What you've known, what you've been through. I don't have no problem sleeping on that floor for a whole year. Right. I have no problem. You know what I mean? Exactly. And then on top of the knowledge, you know, wisdom, knowledge, you're just unstoppable. And that's what I want to teach my kids, and I want them to teach their kids that the money just it's a piece of paper. It's who you become. I'm very valuable. Someone you couldn't pay me enough to to make me not be me.
Yes.
You couldn't write me a check and be like, how much for you to stop being you? You couldn't do that. It's priceless.
The principles are priceless, right? To know the know-how, you can't take, right. You can never take it. They put you and you had to sleep in that corner for a year. You know that in just a matter of time, you'll be right back where you are now. Matter of fact, you'd be further because you'd have the lessons that came from whatever experience drove you there. So you'd be able to take that and bring you all the way back to where you are, where you want to
And you'll be more relentless.
be. More, much more, unstoppable.
That's why sometimes you hear these rappers, like I heard Bad Bunny say, I wish I could be broke again so I could do it all over again. And I know what he means, because with all this knowledge, it's like it can make it's unbelievable.
The hardest is the first time, the first part.
The hardest is the first time. Once you break through, I got so many great business relationships now. I got so many great. I could come up with a great idea, and if I truly want to execute that idea, I could make a call and, hey, let me borrow 100,000. Why you want 100,000? I got this idea, and my credibility is there, my work ethic is there, and I could get the money now. But back then, it was like, hey, let me get 100,000. Like, who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
What have you done?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's who you become. It's how valuable are you going to become? And a lot of people are, I tell people, read books. Oh, you don't read books. I don't read books. I listen to audios, and it's okay. It's okay to learn differently. And I think everyone, people have made fun of me for doing audiobooks. Oh, you don't read, you do audiobooks. I'm learning. It doesn't matter how you learn. You're learning. So I always really try to teach people that, if you hate reading, it's okay. Just get on a treadmill, because first of all, you need a treadmill, and put the headphones on, and you're killing two birds with one stone. You're walking and burning calories and doing something healthy, and you're educating yourself. And it's one of my favorite combinations. That's my favorite thing to do. Like, if you took the gym away from me, if you took that learning and working on myself physically, I couldn't live anymore.
Wow, that's deep.
It's just I know the secret.
Got you. Now, before we go any further, because we done got so far away, but before I want to go back today, I want to go all the way back. Let's go all the way back, because you built something that's powerful, but where you came from is even more powerful. And I think our audience needs to hear. They need to hear all of it. So let's start with where you grew up. Where'd you grow up at?
So I was born in Puerto Rico, and I came to Connecticut. First, I went to Philly when I was 3 years old, and a couple months later, we moved to Meriden, Connecticut, because we had my mom had a sister that lived out here. So we came out here straight from Puerto Rico, right off I always say off the boat, because it was like a saying, you know what I mean? He's off the boat. He's a Puerto Rican off the boat, meaning like Jibaro, like we didn't know English. We culture shock was heavy. We're from the mountains in Puerto Rico, so we didn't even have McDonald's in Puerto Rico. Yeah. Back in the 80s, 70s, in those times, there was no McDonald's where my mom lived. Yeah. Yeah. The McDonald's was built like a couple years after we left.
Okay.
So, you're in the mountains, old school ways. They still had like, still had to use the bathroom outside.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That must have been different. That's a whole different way of life.
Right. So when my mom came out here, it was a complete culture shock for her. And the early days, I remember they were very tough, really tough for my mom. We lived with her. Eventually, my mom got an apartment, and she would communicate with friends that knew English and Spanish. And that's how, food stamps, public housing, bilingual classes, going to school, getting yelled at by racist teachers sometimes because they didn't understand us, things like that.
What school did you go to? What school did you go
I bounced around because we're always following the bilingual program they had, and they would always bounce around from school to school. So I went to Thomas Hooker, I went to John Barry. This is all Meriden schools. I went to Nathan Hale, I went to Hanover. Wherever the program, the bilingual program, was being held that year, we were in that school. So I bounced around from school to school.
Wow. So I went to John Barry when I was young. I went to John Barry till the 4th grade, and then they redistrict the schools, and I ended up going from John Barry, which was right not too far from my home, going all the way to Casimir Pulaski.
Did you have Mr. O'Neill as an art teacher in John Barry?
Mr. O'Neill, yes.
That's my favorite art teacher.
Man, he was great.
Yes. He comes to my barbershop now. Yeah. That's one of my that's my favorite teacher ever.
Let me tell you something. Mr. O'Neill is an exceptional person.
Every human should be like Mr. O'Neill.
He personifies, he's the embodiment of what a teacher should be.
Yes. You're not lying. Absolutely.
I'm a little bit younger than you. So he was younger when I had him.
Yeah.
And I'm a little older than you.
No.
But he was because he was younger when I had him, but he was still a great guy. Like he was
70 and still working.
He's still in the school system.
Yeah. He still works part-time. And he also works at Wesleyan Potters, teaching people how to do the pottery.
Really? I gotta stop in and see him one day.
Yeah. I'll get you. I think I got his phone number. Actually, I do got his phone number.
All right, I gotta stop in and see him. He was great. He's a great person.
Yes,
he is a great person.
Great person.
And you don't find too many teachers. Like in my time growing up, I've had a few teachers that I would say were like just exceptional people that left. And I'm not gonna say that all of them aren't exceptional, but I can say that there's just a few teachers that I had that I can go back and think about from that many years ago that were impactful.
Yes. And every teacher, the teacher you might have not liked could have been impactful to someone else, but they just wasn't impactful to you. And that's what you're saying. There's just absolutely great teachers all around the world, which there is and all over. But there's always those couple teachers that really help change your life.
I'm gonna share an experience with you on the air. I talked to my family, some people, my friends and family about this, and so I had a teacher, and maybe she listen, maybe she'd be listening. But her name was Miss Martin, and she was my computer science teacher. Yeah. And
in Connecticut.
In Connecticut, yes. So when we'll talk about that one after. so when I had her, I was in a position where I was struggling in my own life.
Yep.
And but coming out of it, right? Be awakened, conscious at this point, but on that journey. Yep. Right. So how like you talked about, you're on that journey, but you're in the early stages of the journey. So you're still finding yourself, you're still finding your path. And she was my teacher. She had a style of teaching that I didn't quite understand at the time, and most importantly, didn't appreciate at the time. Mm-hmm. So, she would come, she would bring all the books, and we'd have all the software, and she would sit us down, and she would, put us through the beginning stages, teaching you how to type, and you do that, then you'd go on to this, and then she would put you on these different programs. Mm-hmm. Some of them she wouldn't give you the book for. And she'd say, nope, you sit there and figure it out. And don't ask me no questions. Mm-hmm. Until you wrestled with this for, X amount of time, then you come ask me. So at this time, I'm still developing. I'm new to the computer. I'm really struggling and trying to find my way. I'm learning and reading and this and that, but I only know about learning what I've been taught. right? What I've seen and what I've been able to experience and find of it on my own.
Yeah.
So I hated this lady at the time. Not just because of her teaching style, but culturally, I think we clashed a little bit because of where I was. Not because of her, more because of where I was at the time.
Yeah.
Right, trying to find myself as a young African American man. Now, to the point where I was ready to quit, and
The class.
yeah, quit the class and just be done with it. Until I had a talk with somebody and said, listen, you can't. How you going to give up that opportunity, to learn that, because you don't see eye to eye with the teacher. The teacher already got theirs. You there to get yours. Don't ever let anybody stand in the way of what you need to learn. Your education is not about them; it's about you. So I had to sit back and think about it. Put me in my place. I said, you know what?
You had a little victim mentality there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
And it was, and not only did I have the victim mentality, but everything I was doing and the people and information that I was ingesting, a lot of it was feeding that. Right. So everything was it was like a crutch, right? It was okay.
And it was easy to put that.
Easy.
It was easy.
So then I said, you know what? Okay. So I stuck it out. I said, nah, I got it. You're right. I have a responsibility to me. I have a responsibility to everybody. Let me go and get this. Yeah. So I knuckled down and I went in there and got it. And when I finished the program, and I ended up staying a little longer and learning more. Mm-hmm. And then when I finished the program, it was maybe a couple years later, when I went on and started doing other things and started learning other things, and I didn't have those blocks. I didn't have those barriers. I was able to go, I don't care what it was, I was able to go and learn it.
Yeah.
Because she taught me something that was more powerful than any other teacher had ever taught me in my life. Mm-hmm. You know what she taught me? She taught me how to learn.
Because there's many ways.
Right. Like, don't be afraid of it. You're not going to break it. Just so, she told me you're not going to break the computer. If anything happens, you can go, no, go do it. Go work at it. Mm-hmm. She gave me the strength. She helped to foster that strength in me, to give me the fortitude to be able to go and learn. I don't have a problem learning anything now. You put me in any situation, I'm going to figure it out.
I'm the same way.
Computer software, I'm going to figure it out.
And it teaches you, like, being self-taught is powerful. And, I'm an artist. Like, people would gatekeep information. Hey, how'd you do that? Nobody wants to tell you. Or even entrepreneurs. Hey, can you plug me to that person? Nobody wants to give you information. Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to have to teach myself how to do this because nobody wants to tell me where to do it or how to do it. And you become fucking very unstoppable. It's just one of those, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm glad that happened for you, because I'm sure you apply that to everything in life. And once we learn these things, we just start applying. It's like, I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of things like I used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Things used to seem so, like, they were insurmountable. Like, it was just, they just seemed like they were just so enormous, so big. They was like, how could, you start self-doubting yourself. And then once you, like, she unleashed something in me. And one of my biggest regrets is that I have never ran into her again to be able to tell her the value that she added to my experience in my life.
How many years ago was that?
Ooh.
How old were you at that time?
I was probably about 24, 25. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was young. So you
think she's still around?
I hope so. I hope she's listening to this. Yeah. But she's not in the.
That's a powerful story. That's a powerful story, yeah. Because, sometimes we looking at hard things, and a lot of the people that gave up, I feel bad, because on the other side of that was greatness. and you gave up because you didn't want to go through the fire. You didn't want to get burned. And on the other side of that, I feel so bad for these people because there's so much greatness. Like if I kept being depressed and I stayed away from, you know, I remember I got $700 for my income tax 11 years ago. That's $700. I said I could go party and go on vacation or do whatever with this, or I could grab that 700 and go buy spray cans to develop myself. If I never did that, would I be doing murals getting paid 20 grand nowadays? 18 grand, 10 grand? Like, no. And it was that one decision that sparked something. But what if I went and normally go buy a couple ounces of weed, go party on a weekend, bought a pair of sneakers? It's gone. So it's like sometimes we got to make those sacrifices and we got to go through the fire. You have to invest in yourself. No one else is going to.
That's right. Until you do, no one else will.
No one else will. Back in those days, I could genuinely say I got millionaire friends. I got a few millionaire friends, right? And and they respect me and I respect them. And I could never say that back then. I was like a peasant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the truth. As much as people try to say don't talk about yourself that way, but I was. And the truth is the truth. And I used to rob, I used to steal, I used to cheat. I used to steal money from my mom. You know what I mean? I was, especially in the times where I was a drug addict. When you're a drug addict, you don't care about nobody. I mean, you're not caring about yourself either. And you're just out here hurting the people that are closest to you, and you're just a scumbag. And that's how I felt, back in those days. And it takes a lot, thank God I went to jail. And in jail, thank God for my kids, because my kids gave me hope. They gave me a reason why to keep going, and a reason why to wake up and be something. Because I don't think if I didn't have kids, I don't know why, I just didn't care about myself. I don't know why. I just didn't care. I knew drawing was easy. All these things were cool. I never thought about making money with any of it, and I just didn't care anymore about myself. And when my daughter was born, my mom came to a house that I was doing drugs all the time. And I remember she's beeping the horn. I'm afraid to go outside because I'm really high. And I'm like, I don't want my mom seeing me this way. But she insisted. And and someone came in the house and said, your mom's outside. She wants to talk to you. I'm like, damn, I don't really want to go out there. But they're like, you got to go out there. She has to leave. We don't want her here. We're all doing drugs. So I go out there, so, gone. And my mom, this is when my daughter was first born. And she puts up a picture and she's like, you're going to lose this girl if you don't change your life. Like this, right? You know what I mean? So I remember looking at that picture and I'm like, that's my baby girl. I got to change. Because I know I grew up without a dad. I met my dad when I was 17. And I knew my whole life I was in pain because of that. So I was like, I can't do that to her. So I got to change myself. I got to work on myself to become a better dad. Now, it took me some time. It didn't happen that day. It didn't happen the day after. But she planted something in my mind that was fertilizing. And then ironically, a couple of days later, I said, back then I was doing cocaine, ecstasy, Oxycontins, whatever there was, whatever was around. I was just experimenting. I just didn't care about life. And I remember I stopped everything. And then me and my kid's mother were having a toxic relationship. I eventually ended up going to jail. The bond was so high, I couldn't bond out. And I'm trying to fight to get out of here. And something told me, like, relax, take this time to work on yourself. I remember going to court and the guy saying mandatory year in jail, and I could fight it. But we were going back and forth to court and all that. I'm like, you know what? I feel like God spoke to me and said, take this year and work on yourself. And as much as I wanted to get out free, I just listened to that voice and I was like, let me calm down. I remember going to the prosecutor and telling him, I was like, I'll take the year. And it's this big relief that came off my, now it's like I'm on a mission. I'm going to use this 1 year. I'm going to get my GED while I was incarcerated. I'm a, get fit. I remember in jail, I came across some books that were really meaningful to me. Like, even though they sound funny, like 48 Laws of Power, those books were banned from jail, by the way.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, some jails are banned those books. But I came across these books that kind of sparked some things in me, right? And I started on self development. And in jail, I was the barber of the unit, and I also did art on handkerchiefs that I would sell, and that's how I would eat. Make my money to have food. And I remember an older guy saying, "You're so talented. Why don't you go out there and you put this to work? Make money." I didn't think it. I didn't think it was for me. So I came out of jail, and the first thing I did was go get a job at a food distributor, and again, let the stuff go. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I came out of jail I turned 21 when I was in jail, and I came out and I immediately looked for a job and I started working. It wasn't until 10 years later, when I'm about to be 29 and I'm about to be 30, and I felt like I had nothing. I'm like, dude, you're about to be 30 years old. You don't have a home. You don't own a home. Not that that matters, because owning a home doesn't really matter. But to me at that time it mattered. And you have nothing to show for it. You have you have nothing. And I started like feeling like bad for myself. I'm like, you got to get it together, because at that time I had a third daughter on the way, and I'm like, I got a third kid on the way. I want my kids to be proud of me. I felt like a loser at that time, because I was just bouncing from job to job, finding my way, trying to understand things. And one day I sat by myself and had a conversation with myself, and I evaluated myself. Like, Eddie, what is it the things that you like to do? Because I originally was going to go to school to be an electrician, but a voice in me again. There's always a voice that said, is that really going to make you happy? Do you really want to be an electrician, or are you doing it because it's to make everybody else happy and it makes money? And then I told myself it really isn't what I want to do. And then it's like, dig deeper. What do you like to do? And I thought about it. I'm like, I've always cut hair and I always did art. So I remember picking up oil pastels and starting to do art, posted on social media. People asked for, can you do a Wolverine? Can you do Superman? And I started making money that way. Just, I don't know. I'm like, where the hell has this been? And I started making money that way. And then I went to school for barbering, and that was really tough. I quit for 6 months, but I still felt empty. Like, I quit. And I'm like, you're on your journey to become what you were about to become, and you're going to throw it away because people made fun of your haircuts, or you're going through a breakup right now and you can't concentrate in school. So I took a leave of absence for 6 months, but eventually I remember trying to get jobs at the jobs I got fired from. No one would take me back. And it's like God saying, this is what you need to do. You're not going to go back to that. It's just like, why are you going to keep trying to do something that doesn't make you happy? So I put my best foot forward, and thank God, because barbering saved my life. And not only in a financial way, I was a person that was always going through depression, because you were talking about isolation. Sometimes you get made fun of all the time, or people just shit on you so much where you just isolate your way from people, because you feel like anytime you're around people, people see that you're special, and they try to put you down so much so you don't feel special. So you isolate yourself. Like, I don't want to hang out with those people. They make fun of me all the time, or they talk shit about behind my back, or it's always an argument. It's always like, so I'm like, I started isolating myself. And this is where I said isolation is sometimes important, because you're better off being by yourself than being around a group of people that are constantly putting you down or constantly using you. You know what I mean? And then at that point, there's a step, eventually you end up finding the people that appreciate you. But you got to work on yourself. You got to appreciate yourself first. You got to invest in yourself. You got to develop this person of value. A lot of us is always take, 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 take. And I grew up like that. I grew up always taking from people, taking, 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 taking. And it's not about that. When you become a man, you really realize, like, how can you be useful, and how can you add value to your community, to your friends, to your family. If you're not going to add value, stay away from me. And I operate that same way. If I got to look for the way I could add value to you. to my barbers, to my friends, to my family, and that's how I live my life.
It's a great way to live your life, though. That's a
Right.
great way. I mean, the things you describe are the same things that I explain, and I talk to the people in my life who come to me for seeking advice, to my daughters, all of it.
Mhm.
Because one thing I teach them, and when it comes to relationships, I tell them, if you don't feel fulfilled, it's in a relationship, it's not fulfilling for you, right? You're not becoming better as a result of being with that person, and that person is not becoming better as a result of being with you. You're not sharpening each other.
Mhm.
You don't need to separate.
Total waste.
Total waste of time. And what only thing you're doing is allowing that person to occupy the space that should be for the right person.
Mhm.
And when you move forward, you open the space up. Now there's room for the person that should be there to come, even whether it's your friends, right? We're all energy. We're all energy, and energy tracks energy.
Yep.
So once you start vibrating at the right rate, you're going to attract people who are going to be the same.
Yep.
But stop looking and trying to determine what that same should look like. Just be open for it when it comes, because you know what the qualities and characteristics of it are, but you don't know what the face of it is going to be.
Mhm.
You don't know what the shape of it is.
And it could look really ugly at first.
Exactly.
You know, it's what are you gonna do? What are you gonna turn yourself into? You know what I mean? Like, what are you willing to sacrifice, and to become the person you need to be? And I remember one time I did. I always talk about this 5 years, because these 5 years were very crucial to who I became. And from age 30 to 35, those 5 years, I didn't own a TV. I didn't watch a movie. I didn't do anything for 5 years. I didn't even go on vacation for 5 years. I was so focused on making sure I proved everyone that doubted me wrong. For some reason, it was that enemy that I built in people, like, you know, my ex, my ex friends, and all that, all the people that just really shitted on me. I just had this hunger. I'm like, I'm gonna prove these people wrong, and I did. You know what I mean? I am, and I'm still am, and now it's like, now we're talking about franchising. Now, we got the second barbershop, and now I'm taking it to a level where it's like, wow, now I'm impressing myself, because I didn't think this could be possible. I probably think I'd have one barbershop, cool, but now I got two barbershops, and now the vision is like, wow, this could be, you got 300 barbershops if you do it the right way.
Right.
If you develop the right system,
Yes.
you could have a barbering school, and then you can employ everyone, and then you could be home painting and inspiring other artists. Because my goal is to become something great and teach people how to do it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not, like I tell you, it's not, the material things don't matter to me. When someone says, and I have people come up to me and tell me, like, you changed my life, or you taught me something that really put me in the right track, that is so much more valuable to me than getting a bullshit experience that comes and goes. That's forever. You change their life forever. Now they're able to change their kid's life. This is generational.
Yes, it is.
Of a one person that sacrificed fun and games to become something incredible.
Exactly.
You're incredible because maybe someone 300 years ago did something that inspired a domino effect that went down to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be part of that domino effect
Right.
to my
Exactly.
kids and whoever it can be.
Exactly. I look at it the same way. Like, so much of what I do, I say I do because I want to provide an example of what can be.
Right. Same.
Right? There's no circumstance that you could be confronting that says that you can't be. You were talking about somebody who was paralyzed
Mm-hmm.
and painting with their mouth.
My friend Ryan, yes.
Do you understand? Like, do we understand what's possible?
That's
Everything is possible.
everything is possible as long as you have your mind.
Yes. There's a saying I live by. It's one of my favorite sayings. I used to have this up on my wall. And it says, believe and act as if it was impossible to fail. All right. And I often, and you know, when I was do mentoring groups, I often have to ask this question, and I put it out there. Said, what would you do if you knew no matter what you tried, whatever you did, whatever you endeavored to do, you could not fail? What would you do?
You wake up every day and go get it, I think.
Yeah, like you wouldn't have, you did, like all the chains come off at that point. All the limits come away. There's no, you can't fail. Like there's nothing.
And those
So
limits that you put on yourself are all fake.
all self-imposed, all unreal.
Right. So be unreal in a positive way. If you're going to be unreal in a negative way.
Yes. It's impossible. You don't have to fail. It's impossible.
And I convince myself of that every day. I have the conversation you have with yourself before you start your day is so important. And if you're not conversating with yourself, I advise you to have those conversations. I talk to myself all the time. I sit there and evaluate myself. I talk to myself of things I need to do, things I need to stop doing. Because sometimes you're on this pedestal that you put yourself up, and some people think that you have no flaws. That you think you have no flaws. You know what I mean? Like people don't know the sadness I deal with every day, the depression I fight off, because it comes. You know what I mean? I don't care who you are. You're gonna deal with all these emotions. But when this emotion comes, immediately, if you're in a crowded environment, go somewhere where there's no one around and like figure that out. You know what I mean? Shake it off. And I do that a lot with a lot of things. When you're operating two barbershops with different personalities, people they're gonna piss you off, and you should tolerate others more than you tolerate yourself. You know what I mean? Like if I flipped out on all my barbers when they pissed me off, I wouldn't have any barbers. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they'll piss you off in so many different ways. And sometimes it's jokingly, sometimes it's real, but you got to take a lot of my barbers know when I'm like, I take a deep breather and I let it out. This is how this is my beginning stages of dealing with something. So I won't flip out on someone or I won't get mad. And then I'll leave and I regroup. You know what I mean? Because we can't be out here attacking everyone and reacting to everything, and it's just a lot of wasted energy. You know what I mean? And you never know when anyone else is going through. You never know what people are going through. So a lot of people will put out that negative energy, and we take it personal, and we shouldn't take it personal. That person is going through something, and you should care enough to be like, you know what? I'm not gonna punch you in your face right now. I'm going to understand that you're going through something and it has nothing to do with me. I'm going to step away and I'm going to deal with that situation on my own. You know what I mean? Yes. Because I think we allow people to control us too much. You know what I mean? Someone could make you feel sad or hurt your feelings. And at that point what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Are you going to play the victim, or are you going to take initiative and be proactive on how to control yourself? And I think a lot of people would do a lot better in life if they didn't take so many things so personal. And I only say that because I used to be that kid that you hurt my feelings, and I would, I lost my mind. You know what I mean? Or I'll go home and just be sad about it. Now I know who I am. And I know that what other people's opinions is none of your business. Like that's their issue that they got to deal with. As long as you know who you are, it's all that matters.
Right. So I want to get back because this is so
Yeah,
great.
we go
This is
live.
go. This is go. This is great. But Eddie, when did the streets start to feel like the only option for you, and what was it pulling you in the streets?
Okay. So stuff like that, when we talk about the streets, we got to go down to the root of it. And the root of it would be starting off with my mom being a single parent, my dad not being around, and us not having money to go to karate, go do baseball, go do, all these other things to keep you busy. And I started stealing. So I don't got the latest sneakers or the latest clothes. You get laughed at, you made fun of in school. Now you're stealing, you're going into JCPenney stealing clothes because you want to look good, and then you get caught. Then your mom gets called. You go to, you got to pick me up in the precinct or whatever. And then my mom's just pissed off. And she's hurt because she's going through her own stuff. She's, my mom would take out her real life stuffs on the kids, because when you go outside, you got to have the happy face. And when you come home, you kind of like deal with that. And, my mom was just tired of my shit. Like, she's working hard. Now she got to pick me up at the damn precinct and embarrass her. So she's like, you got to get the hell out of here. Go move with your aunt. And she was going through a breakup. So I moved with my aunt, and she was more lenient. I used to love my aunt. She passed away. Rest in peace. But she let me be she just let me be. But then you get with the wrong, you hang out with the crowd that could relate to you. Oh, that's my friend over there. His father ain't around either. So we could kind of relate to that. Oh, we like doing music. And then next thing you know, we're listening to music. And then the music we were listening to is like, let's smoke weed. Let's do this. So now we're influenced by the music. So we thinking like, okay, we're doing drugs. Now we were all going through something. We dropped out of school because we're misfits in school. We get laughed at because we don't got the latest stuff. We're in pain because we don't have our dads. One of my friends' dad was an alcoholic, was never around. My dad was never around. So now we self-medicate with drugs. And it's all fun in the beginning. We're having fun. We're forgetting about our problems until 3-4 years down the line. Now you have a serious addiction, and nobody wants to be around you because you done robbed everybody to support your habit. You are a drug addict, and it's not fun anymore because you could barely afford it. And then when you do get a little bit of money, the high comes and goes in 15 minutes. And then when you come down, you're in the darkest points of your life. You're depressed. And it's like a big spiral. And it all started off from things like a broken home. It starts off with my dad wasn't around. It starts off with my mom was always busy working 12 hours a day where she didn't have the energy to come home and give me a hug. She'd be like, come home, wash the dishes. I gotta go. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go upstairs and go to bed because I got a headache. So now you're not getting love from your mom because she's busy working. You don't have a dad. You're helping raise the kid, your siblings, watching them with, it was just too much. There's no money for entertainment, and buying a $5 nickel bag of weed was cheap. And then back then they would say it was the gateway. It kind of was the gateway because now we're smoking weed. Okay, let's try some cocaine. Let's try some ecstasy. And now we're experimenting. We're in that experimental phase of some teenagers get into that. And next thing you know, you get with a girl, and then you have you're careless. So now you're a young father. You add it on to the mix. Can't support yourself. Now you got another kid. You're a drug addict. Now, when you're a drug addict, this is when we get into the domestic violence. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the domestic violence stuff comes from abuse, alcohol abuse, drug abuse. It isn't, people don't become that violent just naturally. There's something attached to it. And my sense was the drugs. They alter your mind, your way of thinking. Your temper is short. On top of, never mind being a child that's trying to learn how to be a man and trying to learn how to control their emotions, add drugs to that. That is a ticking time bomb. You know what I mean? So I had all those issues. I had, you know, we when we're teenagers, we try to go look for a girlfriend and love someone. You're not ready for that. You're not ready for love. You don't even know how to love yourself. So you're out here trying to be in a situation where love's involved, and you don't even understand what comes with that and what you got to put in. And next thing you know, you're just in a very toxic situation. And that's what happened to me. I was in a very toxic relationship. I was with someone that didn't love herself, and I didn't love ourselves. We were just there for the pleasure of certain things. We partied together, and then you get sex involved and all that. But that's all us looking for the pleasure. Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. There's no growth in pleasure. None. Pleasure is one of those things that are really not valuable, I think, in my mind.
Okay. I mean, I can. I guess I can see where you come from.
Obviously pleasure is needed.
Yeah.
We want to be rewarded for certain things, and I think pleasure is a reward, right? I think.
I definitely can be. I think we get too far, and sometimes we get too engrossed in pleasure where we solely seeking that, but not, again, you like you said, could be looked at as a reward, right? Or the reward for the work, right? Or what you experience, because pleasure is one of the things that should come as a result of the work, right? Part of the result, regardless to how you see it. And there's different types of pleasure, right?
Right. With the drugs, it's immediate pleasure. It comes and goes. You didn't deserve it. You didn't work for it. So it's very synthetic.
Yes.
But you could get the same feeling. Like I've gotten, I've gotten the same feelings. And, it's tough talking about drugs, but because it's just so taboo and so dark. But, I've gotten the same feeling that when I took an ecstasy off of something great that I accomplished. I remember accomplishing something great. I don't even remember a specific thing I did. And I was so happy and proud of myself that I really felt like I took a drug. That I remember I would pay $20 for this pill to feel that way, and not do the work. I just want a feeling.
Yeah.
But I had the same feeling naturally from the hard work that I put in accomplishing something. When I remember laying back and I'm like, wow, I feel like I took drugs right now. But it was just all the hard work paid off, and you're that feeling, that rush is going through you, and it's like, I can't believe that I took drugs to feel this way. When all I had to do was do hard work, and it lasts longer, and you're healthier, and it's like a snowball of greatness that keeps piling up, and it's just unstoppable. But back then, I would look for it in drugs.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do.
They do.
There's that escape, and then there's that fulfillment. So many people walking around with just so much pain, so much trauma, and it numbs.
A lot more than what we could even begin to understand. Like, no one knows the pain I deal with, or I go through, or losing my mom 3 years ago. I could keep going. You could write a list. I'm sure you can too, of things that hurt you, that still bother you. And the world is walking around like that.
Right.
Everyone has that painful thing. And then this is where, road rage comes into play, and people kill each other over stuff like that. You know what I mean? Or something small turns into something big because that person is going through something. They explode on the person that probably didn't deserve it, and now they're dead. Like, you ever heard of the neighbor came outside and shot the other neighbor because he didn't stop playing loud music? Eventually you come across that person that just bottled it up so much and didn't know how to channel it, and now they're like, they got a gun and they're gonna shoot your face off. You know what I mean? I've learned to channel a lot of my pain and frustration. Like, this is why I do music. A lot of people look at it, you rap and why aren't you famous, or why? At this point in my life, I rap just to channel certain energies. Same thing with painting, my art, my personal art. I just channel that through that. And the reward is people saying, "Wow, that's amazing," and it makes me feel good. I'm like, "Wow, I just turned pain into pleasure."
Wow. That is powerful. So much so. Um, Bridget and I, we lost someone who was dear to us. We lost our son-in-law, who was like a son to me, early last year. He was somebody who was dealing with a lot of what you just described. He had lost his mom when he was younger, as a teenager, never had an opportunity to, confront the grief and work through the grief and the pain. Dealing with so many things that nobody was aware of because he kept a lot of it bottled up inside. And he's someone who sort of isolated himself, but was isolated when in a room full of people. Isolated in a room full of people who actually cared about him, loved him. But in his mind, he told himself the conversation wasn't a good one that he was having inside. And then the drugs came into play. And he is that person that you described. He became that person. He became that person that lashed out, ended up taking somebody else's life, and then taking his own life as a result.
It's really, really sad.
It's extremely sad. Extremely sad for us. Like I said, he was like a son to me. I spent hours with him. He stayed with us, and
You see the potential in the kid, right? I could imagine.
the potential was tremendous. And I used to tell him he was an electrician. He had the dreams, he had the goals, he had the, but there was something that disconnected. And for us, that was a wake up. For us, that was a reason to build this, for us to establish something, because people need to know that it's okay to talk about it. Always, you have to talk about it.
And this is the thing. You don't have to talk about it in a a regular way. You don't have to sit down and be like, "Hey, let me talk to you." You could, because there's a lot of things that I don't bottle up. I don't talk to people about, and then you might hear it in my music, or you might see it in my art, or you might see it in my workout ethic. Like, why is he at the gym for 3 hours? Because I'm in the gym, fighting my demons. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to channel it with constantly sitting down with someone to talk about it. You could channel it so many different ways. You could play tennis. You could play basketball. You could go boxing. There's so many ways to channel those things. You know what I mean? And I think people need to learn that. I think people need to learn that it's okay. If you don't want to talk to nobody, that's fine. But go channel that energy. Write it on a piece of paper. Write a book. Have a journal. Journals are important. My journals to me are my art and my music. And some people don't have that. Oh, I'm not creative, or I don't do music, I don't do poems. Then just write. Put it all out there, and you're gonna feel so much better. You know what I mean? It's all out. Write it on a piece of paper, light it on fire, and even better. It's gone. It's a new day. And then I always try to. A lot of my approach is, some people that don't understand me, like, "You're a tough dude. Not everyone's tough like that. But you have to be this tough, or you're not gonna make it. You have to be tough. You gotta look in the mirror." I remember one time I was so high on cocaine, my pupils were dilated, and like I said, I hate speaking about this shit because it's embarrassing, but we need to. And I'm in the mirror talking to myself, and I'm like, "You are a loser. I remember talking to myself like that. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm like, look at you. You're on drugs. You have a daughter out there. You know, you're a horrible dad. At the time, you know, you got to keep it real with yourself. Okay, now you know all these things about you. What are you going to do to fix it? What are you going to do to be a better dad? What are you going to do to be a better citizen, a better human, a better person to yourself? Okay, I need to stop doing drugs. I need to, you know, I went to drug counseling. I went to domestic violence counseling. I went to one-on-one therapy. I did it all. And at the end of the day, the most valuable thing I had was the conversation I would have with myself. You know what I mean? And me saying, you know, God gave us free will. And you know, people be like, oh, I'm gonna change that person. You're not gonna change no one. The person that's gonna change is gonna change themselves. Yes, you could give them advice, you could mentor them, you could take a left, don't take a right, and they're gonna still take a right. I just told you not to take a left, you know what I mean? But they're just gonna do it. And I don't know what sometimes I ask God, I'm like, why me? Why me and why not those other people, you know? And it kind of like it makes you sad. It's like I get mad emotional about this, but why did it what God put in me, why did he put it in my dad? You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's weird. It's a weird thing because what the hell, why was I so special? And why wasn't my dad special? You know what I mean? So it's like then it makes you question God. It's like who's special and who's not special, who gets it, who don't get it. Like what do we got to do to inspire? And at the end of the day, I'm getting mad emotional because this is like a real story. It's like at the end of the day, what can we do to inspire the kids? And that's why people they're always wondering like, you know, why do you want to work with kids? I'm like, they're the future. We need to inspire the kids to be great because we need to change this. Like sometimes you can't teach an old, you know, was that saying? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if we could somehow inspire the children, we could change the future. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much my mission. And I'm always talking to kids and talking to teenagers because, you know, there was a time that I needed the person that I am today and there was no one around. So that's my mission, you know. And I feel like an asshole crying, you know, I'm fucking trying to hold this shit together, but that's how passionate I am into what I believe in. And my mission is to continue to inspire the kids. And if I can inspire some adults along the way, that's great. But I'm gonna focus on keep doing what I gotta do and inspiring the kids. Sorry for losing my
No, no,
thing.
no, 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 no. This is a real, very real conversation. And it's very powerful to me because I can relate to we've talked and we just have so much in common. And even down where you're talking about, you know, having a father that is not there. Like my biological father never met the man in my life. And I so much so, right, they carried that around for me for so many years that maybe a couple few years ago now, I went to therapy. And just because I had to talk to somebody, I had to understand, you know, where I am in my life and that I I believe in it. And I said I can't talk to other people about doing it, and I haven't done it.
Like what? Do what?
Therapy,
Yeah.
experience it. I haven't gone through. I haven't experienced it, and there's a lot of things that was going on. There was problems that we that would have with my wife, and with my other family. I said, you know what? This is bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
There's God, but God also put people in information and knowledge and understanding in people to be able to help.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm gonna go and talk to somebody. I went and talked to somebody. I actually met a great person and was, great therapist that I would speak to. And, when we started peeling back the layers of the onion to get down to the where the problem was, so much of what I was carrying, so much of what I was feeling went back to that. And it was a
To
lot
the dad, not having your dad around. Yeah.
around and having to not just not having him around, but not having answers and to who he was, or anything about him.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that had to do, one of the assignments, was to go and I had to talk to my mom and find out, have this conversation, that she was reluctant to have for all these years. And I did that and we talked about it, and what I found out was liberating for me. Even though I didn't have him to be able to ask questions that I would love to ask.
He passed away.
Yes. Yeah, from everything that I know, that he's no longer. Which I had an investigator look for him some years back, but he had already passed away. But just wanting but the closure, the answers.
Yeah. And when we talk about closure, I don't think you ever get real closure. Like, what is closure sometimes, and sometimes you think it's the closure, and then it's like that missing piece is still there. I met my dad when I was 17, by the way. You know what I mean? And then when I met him, I went to live with him for a year, and then my dad was a great man. He's funny, a barber, very talented, very funny and very talented, right? And then, but he was still doing certain things that I didn't agree with, and I was in Philadelphia and I was still doing drugs, and he found out, and he's like, he sent me back to Connecticut. He's like, you're gonna lose your life out here. He cared enough about me to send me back, and at the time I couldn't understand. I'm like, dude, we just met. I'm trying to build a relationship with you, and I'm like, this guy must hate me because he sent me back, but really it's because I was leaving work and smoking angel dust with some friends and going back down the road. You know what I mean? So he kicked me out. And then I remember going to jail, and then I come out, and then he goes to jail for 10 years. But fast forward all that, we have a pretty good relationship right now. We he's a barber. We talk about barbering stuff. And regardless of what, regardless of our past, or what he didn't do for me, or blah, blah, blah. I'm a grown man now. I forgave him. I forgive him for all that. You know what I mean? And last year we went to Puerto Rico. I wanted that, for me. I met some of my family members from his side, and I always wanted that experience to be in Puerto Rico with my dad, and we had it, and we had a great time. And we're very similar. You realize you can't spend too much time with too many people. Even with my mom, I remember when she was alive, we couldn't spend too much time together because we'll bump heads. You know what I mean? And I wish we didn't bump heads, but that's just how it was. And even now, my dad's 70 years old. He has little health problems here and there, but he inspires me because he gets up every day. He works hard. He's dialed in on his diet. And my dad's been through so freaking much. He was a drug addict. He was a bum in the streets, literally a real bum in the streets with no shoes. Wow. You know what I mean? And we could get deep into that, but he survived all that. And it's like I always tell people, man, I know what my dad been through. I could make it through anything because I know what my dad survived. Wow. You know what I mean? And obviously, I can't speak about certain things out of respect for him. But I've never seen anyone survive anything that my dad's been through. So that's inspiring to me.
Wow. That's great. That is great. And I think it's great that you now have that relationship with him. And that in spite of everything that you went through, everything you were doing, that you see him and as great. See him for who he become. Right, he reinvented himself.
Yes, he reinvented himself. And the thing with my dad is like, I don't blame him for anything. He comes from the mountains. He used to get beat by his dad all the time. You know, he ran away. He would numb the pain by doing drugs. Same story as me. You know, it's like it doesn't. The thing with addicts, they're not bad people. If anything, they're some of the greatest people in the world. Some of the most caring, loving people in the world. They just been dealing with so much that they end up being drug addicts. And next thing you know, they're robbing people to support their habit because it's a very expensive habit. But that's not who they are. You know, who they are is deep down inside that person. And, you know, it's a tough situation.
It is. It is because the drugs take over.
They take over, and then that's not who they are no more. And eventually, if it goes on, if you keep going and going, this is where you start seeing the people with mental health walking the streets. Like I have friends, like I see that person over there. I'm like, that's Dave over there. I remember that dude was normal back in the day. What happened to him, Dad? Drugs, and mental health. When it goes untreated for so long, you're just a you're Neanderthal. You're walking around like that in the streets, just with no direction, no purpose, no nothing, and now mental health, and you're acting crazy because you want to get some free money, or you want to get, people act. A lot of that stuff is an act. If you sit down with these people, you could really get a shake, smack them out of it. It's like, bro, wake up. You know what I mean? But some people are too far gone. I feel like
Some people just need. I think a lot of times there's people walking around with a lot of trauma. And when you peel back, I used to work in detox for some years, and I came in contact with a lot of people with a lot of different stories. And I'll say that there are people, millions and millions of people walking around that have a trauma, a lot of trauma, right, from different experiences that they've had in their life,
Right.
and some of it is just there's nothing. They just need therapy, like a lot of it for some people, and it was going to take a lot of therapy.
And back to the therapy, it's you pretty much just emptying yourself. Back to talking to someone, you're emptying all that. It's coming all out. It's kind of like a pimple where you pop it all out and all that stuff comes out. It's just like, and you feel good about it after. Right now, me talking to you, I feel good because I'm letting stuff out, even though I let the stuff out all the time. But it's in there. You're always gonna let things out. You gotta make a withdrawal all the time. This is like back to the journals. How important they are.
It's me though. It's me. I have that effect on people.
No, but you know what I mean. Like, I think people need to know that it isn't just therapy. As far as you talking to someone, it's also you figuring out ways. Like back to that. Go for a hike. Develop these things that kind of help you and add value to you. You know what I mean? Right. And to me, for me, it's creating. I like to create. I think these people, they need to figure out what they like to do.
But see, what the things you talk about, right? You talk about the drawing, you talk about the rap. These things have become therapeutic for you.
Yes.
Right? You found things that are therapeutic for you. And with some people, it becomes the first thing is becoming talking about it, right? Having a conversation about it, to be able to connect with it, to be able to just start expressing it, to unbottle it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. For me, it became writing. Writing was my therapy.
Yep.
And I remember going through a training. I would become a hospice volunteer. And in the training, one of the exercises that you had to do was called unfinished business or unfinished business. So you had to write a letter to somebody who was gone. For me, it was my grandfather who helped to raise me. And he had taught me everything I know about being a man.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
And when he passed away, I never had the opportunity to really grieve that loss.
Oh, okay.
And in that process, I just spiraled out of control because it was just so much of a loss to me, so impactful. Not understanding what I was feeling, not even knowing how to go through the grieving process.
Not knowing how to channel it,
None of it.
not knowing who to go to talk to, because sometimes you're embarrassed. You know, like me tearing up in this podcast, it's embarrassing sometimes, and sometimes you want to look like this big macho man, and you want to hold a type of image, but at the end of the day, we're human, and we all bleed,
It's right, and we all cry.
we all cry, and we all deal with emotions, and it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel angry. It's just not okay to let it control you
Yes.
to the point where you're making unjustifiable decisions and stuff like that. You know, people always say, you know, you act like you don't feel these emotions. I feel all these emotions. I feel all the emotions. I just evaluate myself and and put these things in places that they need to be at. You know what I mean? And also, let's say I'm arguing with my wife. We're disagreeing on something. I immediately go to the gym. You know, if we have a disagreement on something, I immediately, I know that that's my therapy. I don't need to call a therapist to be like, hey, help me out with the situation. I know that me going to the gym, I'm gonna get all that energy out. I'm gonna think, and then I'm gonna be like, that was stupid, that was childish. You know, and back then, when I was younger, I would make the situation worse and the fire bigger and the toxic behavior even more. And it's like, you know, now I know how to immediately stop it and redirect it. You know what I mean? Because we're men. We're full of testosterone. We're passionate. We have energy. Like, you know, men and women are wired differently. As much as people say, oh, men and women, you know, we got to be treated equally and all that. We're totally different people. We're different. We're wired differently. We operate differently. And when you talk about testosterone, that one word separates men from women. And that's where the rage could come in. That's where all these different things that women can't relate to, because that one chemical that they don't have. And us as men, like a lot of my stuff that I talk about, women don't understand. Like, you're not gonna understand it because I'm talking to men, because we have that one chemical that changes everything for us. You know, and I think that also needs to be talked about a lot more.
I definitely can agree with that, right? Because we don't know. A lot of times, men don't know where those feelings come from. That raw emotion, that raw, it's just raw emotion.
Energy. It's a certain type of energy. It's a certain. It could turn into rage. You could use it for different type of things, and we don't have. We should have a class on that. We should have a class on, hey, this chemical does this to men. This is why they're so. This is why a man, they're always competing with each other. You know, I'm better than that guy, or we're gonna fight, or we're always competing. Women are like, they they're like that. They do compete with each other, but they're not as aggressive we are. You know, if you put somebody, you know, someone's doing 10 push-ups, you can, I'm gonna do 11. For some reason, I've never seen women act that way. You know what I mean? Men are just like so competitive. That's why they always say too much testosterone in the room. You know what I mean? And I think boys need to learn about that, because the most testosterone flowing through a man's body is that age, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, you know, those ages. And if you notice, those are the ages that a lot of like men lose it. You know what I mean? And I think it's because they don't understand what's going on with their bodies. And I think women talk more about their bodies than men. You know, women talk about their periods and this and that. I think women are very social with each other about that. Men, we're just like, shut the fuck up and go. You know, get up, you baby. You know, there's no nurturing.
Yeah, yeah.
when it comes to a man as much as to a woman.
I agree.
And I think this is why we got a generation of very toxic men.
I agree.
You know, everyone killing each other. You don't see women out there shooting each other up.
No, you don't.
It's the boys.
You're right. You're right. It's a lot of it comes from that and what we're taught. What we're taught a man is and what he should be, and a lot of it.
Missing fathers. The missing fathers,
Sure.
which is the biggest one.
Oh yeah.
We don't have no one to teach you. You know, I always tell my son, I'm like, I didn't have no one really to teach me how to be a man. I had to make a lot of mistakes. I had to fall on my face a lot of times. Get up, get up, get up. And I get jealous of boys that grew up with their fathers, good fathers, because some people grow up with their fathers and get beat up all the time and had a very horrific experience, and they hate their dad. Sometimes I talk to people, I'm like, I wish I had a dad, and they tell me back like, I hate my dad. You know what I mean? So it's like we need good fathers.
We do. That is a mission. That is a mission.
That is. It's part of my mission too. Part of my mission is to try to inspire young dads.
Well, you're doing it.
I'm trying.
You're doing it. Honestly, coming to the barbershop, right? I've seen you in there, seen you in your habitat, seen you before we've ever spoken a word to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I can say is that every way you've described yourself on this podcast today, as far as who you are, in your reinvention, who you've become, what you stand for, what you believe in, what your principles and values are on display every day when you're in your space, which is your barbershop, whether you're cutting hair. You personify, you exemplify all of those qualities, all those characteristics. You're not talking something or saying something that this is who you want to be. No, this is who you are. This is who you become. And I've seen how you interact with the children with autism when you're cutting their hair, and the other young children when they come in your shop. I've seen how you interact with your barbers, and then long before I ever knew you owned the barbershop. I used to see you come in there and talking the way you would interact with the other barbers, and I was like, wow, this guy's this. I'm looking at this guy. Oh, this is great. He's a cool guy. This is a good guy here. Right? Didn't come in, your energy was always right, always up, always cheerful, having conversations, not just with your people in your chair, but people in other chairs. Yeah, you come in and bring that energy. There's a certain energy that you bring in a room with you. Yeah. And you are exactly who you described your transformation, right? And who you describe yourself to be. There's no question that that's you.
Thank you. It makes me happy that you see that.
Oh, 100% genuine. 100% genuine.
And that's one thing about me, as far as like, I give a lot of people opportunities to become something in my barbershop. I don't care what background. I don't care if you got arrested last week. Today's a new day, and I'm willing to give you a chance. And I hope I could inspire you, because back to that, what made me so special to God opened doors for me. And I want everyone to know that everyone's special. You just got to put the work in. God wants to help you, but he can't help you. He can only help you so much. Like, you got to put something in. Give us some effort, and God's going to be like, here, I'm going to open this door. You walk through that door, and it's like, okay, I need you to do a couple things. You do those couple things, you're going to open another door. And there's some doors right now that I need open, and God is telling me I'm not opening these doors for you until you do these, because I'm not sitting here acting like I'm perfect. We all got our flaws. We all make our mistakes. We're human. And your blessings are only going to fall as far as your commitment and your sacrifices. You know what I mean? And I know that to get to where I want to get to, God's like, you got to become even better than what you are now. And we're never going to be priests like we're like perfect. You know what I mean? But you got to do better. Right. And we know the areas. I don't need to sit here and tell you my areas. Your areas that you need to fix. and I know my areas, especially because when we're in self development, we're really aware. Like, okay, why'd you do this over there when you know you shouldn't have done that? You know, so I'm still working on those things. It,
Someone asked someone. I believe it was Mike. I don't know if it was Michael Jordan, but it was someone that they asked the question. Said, when you reach a point where you become the best, and you don't have anyone else to really compare or look at and say, I want to get better at this, and this is the example that you're going to use to climb higher. How do you keep getting? How do you keep growing? How do you keep getting better? How do you keep increasing in your craft? And the answer was that every day I compete against the person I was yesterday,
Mhm.
and to become better than that person that I was yesterday. And it sounds so simple, but it was so profound. Is
Mhm.
that I'm always looking to find where I can improve every single day.
And there's always something to improve.
And there's always something there. There's always something.
My biggest thing, which is my main focus for everything, is to really control my emotions. And not emotions towards other people. Sometimes we sit there and be like, man, we start thinking negative about our businesses. Like, you own a business, I own a business. We're like, is it ever going to go under? Or what am I going to do if it goes under? Or, these conversations, I got to stop thinking that way.
Right, right.
We think about, today we're like firefighters. Entrepreneur, wake up, there's a fire over here, fire over there. I'm like, oh, I got to put that fire, I got to put this fire out, I got to put that fire. And then finally you put all the fires, you're about to relax and another fire breaks out. And it's like, I got to put that fire. And it's like every day I talk to I go to a naturopath and I tell him about these things. It's like, he relates to me and it's like, you're a firefighter. You know what I mean? This is your job. You wake up and you put fires out. And then you come to bed and you hope that a fire doesn't break out while you're sleeping. And you wake up again and you put out fires. So I wake up like that. I wake up prepared, mentally prepared. This is why waking up before everyone is important. I wake up before my wife and my kids most of the time, unless I stayed up late working on a mural or working on something. I get up at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. It is. And sometimes it's a struggle, but the benefit outweighs the struggle of waking up. When I wake up at 3 a.m, I get up, I could take care of Eddie. I could go to the gym. When you work out, your energy, you're vibrating high. You come back, like today, a perfect day for me today. Woke up at 3 a.m, got up, went to the gym. I was, endorphins are up. I'm in good energy. I come home. My kids are still sleeping. I make pancakes for them. I wake them up. They eat their pancakes. Give them some good, positive conversations. I take them to school. I come back home. Now I'm ready for the world. But first, you got to take care of you. And after you take care of you, you got to take care of your family. After you take care of your family, you're ready to take care of the world. Yeah. But you can't do that if you wake up late and now you're mad at yourself for waking up late. You're yelling at your kids, get your bag, running late. Now your whole day is that energy. Yeah. So how worth it was getting up early at 3 a.m, even though it was hard, it was worth it for your mental health. Yes, it is. And for your family. They need to see a hero. Like, your kids need to see a hero. They can't see the guy that's like, what's wrong with dad? Yelling, running late. And I can't say I'm perfect every day, but I strive for that every day. I strive to be a blessing to my children, to my wife, to my family. And I also try to go out to the world and help them find out their superpowers and make them feel good about themselves. That's why I'm always complimenting people. Like, I might, I like that shirt. I don't have to say that. In my mind, I could have kept that. I like that shirt, but I didn't have to tell them that. But the value of that, you made them feel good. You made you feel good because they felt good. And it's just, and they're good and they're going to go on and give somebody some positive feedback. And that's just how it goes. And if the world knew that that's how it went, now we're talking about the world is in shambles right now. The racism, the arguing, the war, everyone, black, white, Spanish, Latino. It's like, what is wrong with you people? What, you know what I mean? And it's like, we got to be in a world where we got to start really promoting love and acceptance. And, there's a movie called How to Train a Dragon. They hated each other. The dragons hated the Vikings, and they didn't understand each other. But once they really took all that stuff to the side, and next thing you know, the Vikings are using the dragons to fly around, and they became powerful together. It's a powerful. You know what I'm talking about? How to
Yeah,
train a dragon. You could. It's like kind of like racism.
Well, I never watched the movie, but I seen the
If you ever have some chance, watch it. And I look at that. When I went to Thailand, we're ignorant. If you're racist, you're ignorant. You're very ignorant because you don't know anything. Then you go to Thailand and you start seeing their culture, and you start you're open mind, and you're like, wow, I love these people. Same thing with Puerto Ricans. A lot of people don't understand Puerto Ricans, but when you go to Puerto Rico, they're the most caring and loving people in the world. You know what I mean? Like you go there, it's so. I think we need to really work as a nation as a whole to really start understanding each other's cultures and appreciating and
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
and respecting religions, different religions. Like I can't stand religions that bash each other. I respect Christians, Catholics, Muslims, but when I see those religions bashing each other's religions, is like I don't respect that in a person. Respect people's religions, their way. A lot of it is cultural. You know what I mean? A lot. It just I think the world would be a better place if we really focus on those things: religion and race and culture.
Yeah. Now, Eddie, we've been on a journey together. We've been on a heck of a journey here today. I don't want to take that lightly. Now I want to pull all the wisdom out of your story, not just for you, but for the person who is still in it, still in the dark, still wondering if there's a way out. So, Eddie, what are the 2 or 3 most important things you want someone to hear who is still in the middle of all this right now?
Look for something hard to do. That's one of my biggest things. Like, stay away from comfort. Go towards the hard stuff and control your emotions.
Stay away from comfort. Go toward the hard stuff. Give me more. I need. Give me some more on that. But I like that. But give me a little more.
The hard stuff. If someone told you to get up early, that's hard. Someone told you to go to the gym, that's hard. Someone told you to learn something new that you're interested in, but been afraid to because it's hard. That's hard. You know what I mean? And then that's where do all the hard stuff. You know what I mean? Be nice to someone that was mean to you. That's hard. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by doing all the hard stuff. A couple things, and then when you talk about what else did I say?
So do the hard stuff and
Control your emotions, which is one of the biggest things. Your emotions could guide you to the wrong place, especially anger. Anger is a very, very, very detrimental. It could be so detrimental to your life. If you can't control your emotions, if you're sad, you're gonna try to look for comfort, right? They want you to find comfort when you're sad. And I think being sad all the time is going to make you look for comfort all the time. And it's going to make you justify why you're not doing the hard stuff. Because I'm sad. And it's okay because my therapist told me if I'm sad, I could go be sad. You know what I mean? I think, how long do you want to be sad for? You know what I mean? How long do you want to be depressed for? It's okay to be sad, but for how long? Are you going to do it for 5 minutes? Or are you going to do it for 5 years? You know what I mean? So shake it off. Learn how to shake these things off. There's positive emotions and there's negative emotions, right? And then, there's love. But then again, love could also direct you in the wrong. You could fall in love with the wrong person. And it's a pit stop. And they got you in that love emotion has you in that strong chokehold where it's like, I could have been climbing up that mountain, but I'm stuck in this area right here because I love this person and he doesn't want to climb up the mountain with me. So sometimes love is very bad,
Right.
so that back to the emotions, like you have to control your emotions and you have to really, really question, like, is these emotions, are they adding value to my life right now? Because you see it all the time in relationships, all the time, especially with the young people. Why are you in a situation? Oh, because I love him or I love her. You can't, it's going to hold you back. It's that love is holding you back, and love feels good. You think it's good, but sometimes it's not going to be good. So control your emotions, do all the hard stuff. You know what I mean? And then add value. Everyone's always out here trying to take. Sometimes when someone comes up to me and they're immediately trying to take something from me, I I don't want nothing to do with you. And it's not because I don't think you're a good person, or it's not. It's because you haven't figured life out yet. And I feel like you got to go through those bridges over there before you get to my bridge. You know what I mean? Only because when we spoke, you wanted to add value to me before me adding value to you, and I respect that. I'm like, we understand life. We understand this. It's about what can I do for you. It's like JFK when he said, "It's not what your country could do for you; it's what you could do for your country." And that's always stuck with my mind. And when I was younger, I looked at it like, what are these people saying? And then you get older and you realize, I know what JFK was talking about. You got to add value, and those are I think those things are very important for a foundation.
Okay. I like it. Now, what do you say to the man who's in his 40s or 50s who feel like it's too late, like too much damage has been done? What do you say to him?
I think you should. You're probably right, but you could use that as fuel to, like, I'm going to live the rest of my life, the next 20, 30 years I have left, or 40 years of my life. I'm gonna make it a mission before I leave to prove to me and other people that you could change. I mean, Henry Ford started Ford at 42, and then you talk about Kentucky Fried Chicken at 62. That guy, and McDonald's was 57. You know, yeah, these all people were old. All these Lamborghini, Ferrari, all these people started after 40. So that, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a saying that anything before 40 was just practice. And it makes you feel better because I'm 41. And then it's crazy, at 28, 29, I was having a midlife. People asking me about midlife crisis. Man, I had that when I was 28, 29, because I felt like I needed to be somewhere. But life's a journey. You know what I mean? As long as you keep climbing up that mountain, you're going to get there eventually. You're going to get to the top. And then when you get to the top, you're like, okay, what other mountain is there to climb? So just fall in love with the journey, because there's always going to be a mountain to climb. And at 40 and 50, you're in your prime. For the most part, you figured out life, I think. I mean, obviously, there's some people that haven't figured it out, but I know that no one could come into my life and break my heart, because I love myself too much and I respect myself too much. I can't be in, no one could break my heart. You know what I mean? Maybe my kids could do something to hurt me. Obviously your kids are your kids, but no one could break my heart, as far as to the point where I can't function. And I know who I am. And for the people that want to stay, I appreciate them. And the people that want to leave, that's okay too. You know what I mean? I know who I am. And when you get to that point where you know who you are and you've created a lifestyle that you love, what could beat that? What's better than that? And I think in 40s and 50s, you kind of like been through so much in life that you kind of understand that people are going to come and go. I think we hold on to that. Oh, she left me, or he left me, or this person doesn't want to talk to me, or this person didn't give me an opportunity. Who cares? You are the ruler of your own world. You could create some things, and you could be incredible.
Oh, yes. Yes. So, all right, Eddie, you built a business, a brand, a legacy. And after all of that, what does the word legacy mean to a man who almost didn't make it?
Legacy to me is having my kids look back when they're lost at their great grandfather's story. And I'm going to have a book before I leave this earth. And I'm going to leave the gems. And if my great grandkids come across my book and read it and get inspired and pick the ball back up, that's legacy to me. The teachings we leave behind, not the tangible things, not the materialistic things. It's the wisdom that you leave behind.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Last one. Who is Eddie still becoming?
Who is Eddie still becoming? I think I am. It's funny because my godfather a long time ago said, I was like 12. He's like, you should think about becoming a priest. And I laughed at him. I'm like, I don't know. Priests don't have girlfriends. I wanted a girlfriend. But I would like to be that wise man that people could look to. I want to become one of the wisest men that ever lived of this generation.
Wow. I like that. All right. So we're gonna close this out with our rapid fire round. Now, how the rapid fire round works is we're gonna ask a question and you give a short answer. It's the first thing that comes to your mind. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right. One word that describes the man you used to be.
Loser.
One word that describes the man you are now.
Winner.
The song that got you through your darkest moment. What is it?
Eminem. I forgot the song. I forgot the song. It's a song from Eminem though. It was like a very empowering song.
Lose yourself in the moment.
Yes, lose yourself.
Okay. Yes. All right. Something people see when they look at you now that they don't know cost you everything to get.
My success. Right?
Okay. Now finish this sentence. You know you're aging wealthily when?
You're waking up early.
All right. Now, we got one last thing. This is one thing we do. We always ask. We close every episode of Aging Wealthily with this question. I don't think I've ever met this question more with anybody than I mean it today. So, Eddie, if you could write a letter to your younger self, to young Eddie, the version of you who was still lost, still headed down the wrong road, still convinced that there was no other way, what would you say to him?
Never stop learning.
Stop learning.
I feel like probably the most. That's what I would. If I had one thing to tell my younger self, I really dial in on making sure your education comes first.
Yes, yes, I agree because that education
Remember, everything you learn, you can't unlearn.
can't unlearn it, right? Come back full circle right there. All right, Eddie, we're gonna close out, man. This has been a great episode.
Sure.
I very powerful.
I appreciate you having me. It means a lot to be able to talk about these things because, having the platform, you providing this platform to talk about these things, certain questions you asked me that a lot of people haven't asked. And I've never dropped tears on a podcast. So we really spoke on some very touchy subjects, and people need to see that. I think people see me as this soldier mentality guy, and I do cry, I do get emotional, and I do. I'm human. I bleed too.
That's right.
So we just got to also display those things so the kids could see like, wow, he bleeds too.
Yeah, be genuine.
Yeah.
And that's you. Have nothing else. So Eddie, you could have been a statistic by every measure the world uses to count people out. You were counted out, but you chose differently.
Mm-hmm.
And then you chose again. And then you kept on choosing one day, one decision at a time. Every person who sits in your chair, every piece of art you create, every young person in Meriden or anywhere else who looks up and sees your name on a building, they're living proof that your life meant something and means something today. Thank you for trusting us with your story today. This one was sacred. And to everyone listening, if today's episode moved you, if you heard something in Eddie's story that felt like it was meant for you, I want you to know that's exactly why we do this. Because what Eddie just described, the isolation, the slow disconnection, the moment when a person loses their grip on who they are, that's not just a street story. That is happening to millions of Americans right now, quietly, invisibly. And we're building something to help fight it. It's called the Wealthy Brain Campaign. It's a national movement combining brain health, financial health, and real human connection. Because we believe those three things are the same investment. They're not separate. We can't tell you everything yet, but something big is coming. And you're going to want to be a part. You're going to want to be a part of it from the beginning and all the way through. Here's what I need you to do right now. Follow the Aging Wealthily podcast wherever you listen. You can go to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can go listen or watch the episode. Join our newsletter that we're pushing out at agingwealthily.com. That's where the announcement drops first. And share today's episode with one person who needs to hear Eddie's story. Just one. We'll see you next Sunday, 9 a.m. for another episode of Aging Wealthily Podcast. Bye for now.